from our Toronto studios. This is our post-election special coverage for GTA Muslims Today. Assalamu alaikum, I am Ahmed Ramadan.
Assalamu alaikum, I am Moiz Rahman. Now, for the past 48 hours, our team has been working tirelessly to capture as many of the updates and events as we could for you. And we have gone through so many different cities, and we've had analysts that came on our show to share their opinion, and we were able to capture so much value that we were able to now share it with you, and we want to continue that momentum today. Brother Ahmed, how was the night for you, and what are the latest stats that you can share with us about the election today?
First of all, I agree with you. We have been literally all over the city. It's been incredible, from Markham, Richmond Hill, Brampton, Oakville, Burlington. It's just been an incredible journey the last few weeks. And it's been a very nice learning experience just talking to all the people that we have been in contact with. Last night was very interesting. We were seeing the numbers come in and seats getting filled in different ridings. And at one point, the Liberals looked like they had, they were well on their way to a majority. And then the Conservatives caught up. They, I think, reached 151 seats. I think that was the peak that they reached at. And then obviously, because they're projected seats, some of those seats turned back. And right now we're sitting at, the Liberals have secured a government. It is a minority government with 169 seats. That's 3 seats lower than they need to secure a majority government. The Conservatives are sitting at 144 seats. Bloc Québécois at 22. NDP with a very disappointing night. They ended up with 7 seats, and the Green only has 1 seat, and that was Elizabeth May winning her seat's re-election. So I know earlier today you had done a news report. We want to play that for you now and just see some of the latest updates.
Assalamu alaikum. You are watching GTA Muslims Today from our Toronto studios. I'm Elia Batul.
And I am Moiz Rahman. Now, latest news and updates from the Canada federal election 2025. 15 Muslim candidates have been elected to Canada's parliament. The number, a record high from 11 last term.
Experts say the change reflects significant Muslim civic engagement and political influence. 14 of the elected MPs are Liberals, while the Conservatives secured 1, Ziad Abdul Taif from Edmonton Manning. No Muslim candidates have won seats from the NDP, Bloc Québécois, or Greens. The election is being dubbed as historically significant for the Canadian Muslims. The ongoing Israel's war on Gaza has made Muslims reflect on their choices so the genocide can be ended. Muslim voters rallied behind platforms like MuslimVote.ca and VotePalestine.ca to choose candidates who shared a pro-Palestinian stance. Most Muslim MPs come from communities with roots in Lebanon, Pakistan, Iran, Somalia, and Turkey. Some prominent names include Samir Zubairi, Shafqat Ali, Aslam Rana, Faris Al-Sood, Ikra Khalid, and Salma Zahid. For more details on how Muslim candidates performed in Canada election, log on to our website, muslimnetwork.tv. Liberals were set to lose until President Trump started talking about Canada.
Now, Liberal Party has secured a 4th term, just a few seats short of a majority. The 37-day campaign saw Liberal leader Mark Carney and Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre position themselves as best-suited candidates to counter U.S. tariff threats. Threats by U.S. President Donald Trump and increased tariffs on Canadian goods changed the perspective of voters at home. Following the win, Carney has pledged to beat the U.S. in a trade war, promising a new economic path. He is calling for resilience against a hostile neighbor in the South. At Liberal headquarters, supporters could be seen celebrating what they called a reclamation of Canada's independence.
As I've been warning for months, America wants our land, our resources, our water, our country. Never. But these are not idle threats. President Trump is trying to break us so that America can own us. That will never ever happen.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre has pushed his party to achieve monumental gains this election. However, he could not bring them to a win, nor could he hold on to his seat.
Poilievre has vowed to stay as party's leader. His loss at his Carleton riding marks the end of a 20-year reign. The Conservatives won some surprising ridings as well. However, the party's public sector cuts costs them a win.
Canadians have opted for a razor-thin minority government, a virtual tie in the vote count. So I would like to congratulate Prime Minister Carney on leading this minority government. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree.
New Democratic Party leader Jagmeet Singh is stepping down after losing his seat in Burnaby Central.
The party also faced significant losses in this election, winning only 7 seats nationally. The threshold for a federal party is 12 seats. In his riding, Singh finished third to Liberal Wei Chang and Conservative James Yan. Singh stepped down Monday night. He said it was the honor of his life to serve the community. His resignation follows a collapse in party supporters nationally, as voters have split between Liberals and Conservatives.
Tonight, I've been informed a party leader that I'll be stepping down as party leader as soon as an interim leader can be appointed. It's been the honor of my life to represent the people of Burnaby Central. Tonight, they chose a new member of parliament, and I wish them well as they continue to work hard for this community.
That's all from our Toronto studios. Please subscribe to our GTA Muslims Today YouTube channel. For more updates, keep watching Muslim Network TV.
Now, because I was there to give coverage on all of this, I had the chance to experience it all. And before I get Brother Ahmed's opinion on this, for all our viewers that are watching this, let us know your comments in the below as we're doing this, and maybe we'll talk about everything that you're mentioning in the chat box as well. So Brother Ahmed, from everything you saw right now, what are your sentiments about it?
So honestly, there's a lot of ways that we can take, there's a lot of points that stick out to me. Poilievre losing his seat, why the Liberals won and the big swing in votes. But one thing that really stood out, and I think maybe we can start here, is there's a record number of Muslim MPs that have been elected.
Yes, and from the stats that we got, we actually able to determine that we had the highest amount of Muslim voters this time around than ever before. So putting it right back at you, why do you think this time around we had the highest percentage of Muslim voters?
I think there's a few factors that come into play right now. There's obviously increased political engagement. Groups like CM PAC, with Muslims Vote, and other organizations that have come together and really tried to mobilize the community and let them know that their voice matters. In addition to that, the community mobilization in key areas like the GTA and Vancouver, we play a critical role in where our votes go and who gets elected. And finally, there's just been, in general, a demographic shift. So there's a lot more Muslims in the country and a lot more Muslims in key ridings. And again, they realize that this is very important to go and vote. But one thing I think that really stood out, especially this time around, is what's taking place overseas in Gaza and Palestine. People are very concerned. People want to know that their country is, first of all, not complicit in any war crimes, but also they want to see the suffering that's taking place over there. And they're trying to vote, I think, we could get into this a little bit later about why they voted Liberal and why the NDP went down. But in general, they really rejected they were really scared of some of the rhetoric that was coming out from the conservative side in regards to Islamophobia, in regards to Palestine. So they really went out and tried to represent.
Absolutely. Honestly, everything you said there was very, very well said. Great points. And at a personal level, I am generally very happy to see so many fellow Muslims actually take their voting seriously and go out there and commit to it. To the very end of the poll yesterday, we were wondering and we were told that there could be a shift, mainly due to the Muslim population taking commitment and effort to put their votes in, and I think it goes a very long way. Now, before we dive anything further into everything that we have to cover today, let's take a tune into Mark Carney's winning speech.
As we come here after this most consequential election, let's put an end to the division and anger of the past. We are all Canadian, and my government will work for and with everyone. When I sit down with President Trump, it will be to discuss the future economic and security relationship between two sovereign nations. And it will be with our full knowledge that we have many, many other options than the United States to build prosperity for all Canadians. Les défis devant nous sont intimidants, et c'est normal. Les grands changements, comme ceux que nous vivons, sont toujours inquiétants. Nous avons beaucoup de chemin à faire, mais j'ai confiance. J'ai confiance en vous. J'ai confiance au Canada. Ambition. It is a time to be bold, to meet this crisis with overwhelming positive force of a united Canada. Because we are going to build, baby, build.
So we're going to talk a little bit about, dive deeper into some of the analysis that we've come across this election cycle. But before we do that, let's hear some of the Mark Carney supporters and how they felt after the election last night.
I'm excited to see the Liberals are leading. I'm disappointed in our citizens for giving more seats to the Conservatives than they deserve. But I'm excited to see that we're leading and very hopeful that we're going to get a majority.
Very excited. I feel like there was a lot on the line, a lot at stake for this election, and I'm really glad it happened so quickly as well. We thought it was going to be a lot closer, but it's really looking good for the Liberals. So
it's very exciting. I mean, it feels so early in the night to have that sort of outcome expectation, but it's just very exciting to be here on such a historical night and important night for young people like me. You know, it feels like we have a lot at stake, so it's very exciting.
Thank you so much for watching that. Now, Brother Ahmed Ramadan, you've been following Mark Carney's journey and providing so much coverage on it since the very beginning. So from what you had seen during the early stages to this now, how do you feel about it all coming together?
It has been a very interesting journey. And I want to just talk about more the Liberal side right now. And we're going to see in a few moments some of Poilievre's comments and the reaction of some of his voters. But let's talk about the Liberal side for a bit. I think a few things happened for the Liberals that, really helped their situation. Number one, what's taking place, and this is really most of their platform was based on this, what's taking place in the U.S. with Trump, his attack on Canadian, sovereignty and the tariffs. They felt like Carney was the best leader in order to repel some of that. At the same time, I think people really, they were very upset with the Liberals when it came to Trudeau. When he stepped down and Carney stepped in, that also helped. And I know there's been a lot of talk right now, online, in media, about Trump being the main factor. But I really think there's been a bunch of factors, not just one, although that one is obviously very big and it played a huge role. It also helps when you see some of the more multicultural, diverse communities like the GTA, which we cover all the time, like Vancouver, some places in Montreal. People were really afraid. And they've, as much as some people really voted for Carney and wanted him to win, there's been also a vote against the Conservatives for the Liberals. And that's why we saw the NDP do so poorly. Bloc Québécois lost, I believe, 12 or 13 seats. People were just trying to vote more within the two-party system. And this is kind of where Canada is right now, for better or worse, and maybe some of our viewers have opinions on that. But it's really become a two-party race. And in any normal time, the Liberals had 43% of the vote. That would have been enough for a majority. Even the Conservative numbers would have been enough for a majority government. But this time, even the winner does not have enough for a majority government. They have to settle for a minority government.
Absolutely. Very well said. And I would like to echo a little bit on what you just mentioned in the earlier stages there. When we were out on the streets and talking to our fellow voters and fellow Canadians, the primary concern really was the tariffs. And they were just concerned about who is best appointed to fight Trump. And that was the primary concern for most of the voters that we spoke to. Followed by that, we heard the issue of the cost of living and the worries with growing inflation. And then obviously with Islamophobia, crime rate, what's happening in Gaza. Now, before, when you were covering the election with Mark Carney, you mentioned to me that he is talking about Gaza and the events that are taking place in it. From that point all the way up until now, have you heard anything about Gaza on any of the media channels?
This has been very interesting because, I've been all over the media this morning, Even late last night after we finished our live broadcast, I kept checking in on what people were saying, what media outlets were saying, and really Gaza Palestine was not taken into their equation. Although the numbers show that Muslims and human rights activists, these groups that have been organized and putting forward a strategy, did play significant roles. There's 12 ridings that were decided by less than 300 votes, and a lot of these ridings are where Muslim votes are concentrated. So yeah, it is a little bit disappointing that they've completely ignored what the ICJ is calling a plausible genocide. So this is the issue of our time when it comes to international human rights.
Thank you for sharing that. Let's shift our focus a little bit and let's see what Pierre Poilievre had to say in his latest speech.
We are cognizant of the fact that we didn't quite get over the finish line yet. We know that change is needed, but change is hard to come by. It takes time. It takes work. And that's why we have to learn the lessons of tonight so that we can have an even better result the next time the Canadians decide the future for the country. We'll have plenty of opportunity to debate and disagree, but tonight we come together as Canadians. We will do our job. Yes, we will do our job to hold the government to account. But first, we congratulate people from all political backgrounds on participating in the democratic process. And thank you. It's with profound gratitude that I stand before you today at the moment of this historic election. Because only in Canada could the story that Anna and I bring to the stage be possible. Adopted son of school teachers and a Venezuelan refugee, stand on this stage in front of our proud country.
Thank you so much for watching. Now, before we break down that and so much more, let's see what his supporters had to say.
That's the country you want. That's the country you want to live in. So how do I feel? I'm very sad right now.
I was hoping for, obviously, a Conservative win. I was hoping to have a big celebration tonight. And I've talked to a lot of people. The people I talked to, and I've talked to in many different areas of Canada, and I really thought that it would be closer. Again, it's not.
So you could see, this is, I think, a very interesting point, what happened with the Conservatives and how they were leading by 25 points and ended up losing the election. And another very interesting fact is how Pierre Poilievre lost his seat. What do you think about that? What do you think that says?
Honestly, there's so many thoughts to share about that. And I feel like from what he's telling us, he wants to try his best to get back into a seat. And there's going to be so many different consumer opinions on it. And we would love to hear all of that from you guys as we're doing this live. But what I want you to ask you is, do you think he will be able to get back in the seat?
This is going to be interesting because there has been a lot of infighting within the Conservative Party. And obviously we saw a lot of back and forth between him and the Premier of Ontario Ford. So it's going to really depend on how people take what took place last night. And we could look at it from two ways. From one side, you could say the Conservatives won a lot of seats. They increased their voting by 40%. They made a very strong showing. They even outperformed the polls. So you can give, if the Conservative Party wants to give them kudos for that, they definitely can. But there's another argument to be made that you were up by 25%. You were up by 25%. You had, it was in your pocket. It was an inevitability that you were going to win. So to go from there and then drop and end up losing, it's not even a majority. It's not even a minority, but you end up losing. They might say, we need a new face that not only didn't lose the election, but didn't lose his particular riding election. So if they decide to look at it in the positive way, it might be possible that somebody might give up their seat from the party so he could step in and he could represent in Parliament. Otherwise, maybe he might stay on for a little bit until they figure out who's the next leader going to be.
Spot on. I do think over the coming days, they will have a lot of internal discussions as to what you said, what happened, what could be done better, and if going forward, giving him a seat is the best strategy, and we will be sure to share all those details with you as they are released. Now, before we dive into our next segment, let's do a little bit of a Q&A to get our viewers caught up on everything that's going on. So my first question for you is, what is the difference between majority and minority government?
So for a majority government in Canada, you need 172 seats. And what this allows you to do is accomplish things in Parliament. You could pass laws and do other things that you need to do. Without that, now you got to start working with other parties. And I think for some people that didn't want the Liberals to win necessarily, or not happy that they won, but are happy that the Conservatives lost, this is sort of a best case scenario where now it's forcing them to look at other parties. The NDP have 7, Bloc Québécois has 22, and the Green have 1, to work with others in order to get things accomplished. So that's the difference between, a majority government and a minority government.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That was very detailed, by the way. Also, I don't know if this is something you did differently today, but you have a lot of noor on your face today. You're glowing.
Brother, you are so sweet, and I appreciate it, but it's not me, it's the sun. It's following you around, and it's just bouncing off of me.
I think it's reflecting my suit and coming from my shoulder to you, but one way or the other, it looks like you have a very distinct skincare routine, and we should talk about that one day. Can you tell us what the term first past the vote means?
So in Canada, we don't total up the total number of votes. It's not just across the country, the number of votes for each party. Each riding does its votes, and when you reach a plurality or the majority, you win that seat. So in one riding, if there is one, let's say, just to make things simple, there's 1,000 people in that riding, and the Liberals win 51%, that seat automatically goes to the Liberals. If in another riding, they have 2,000 people voting, and Conservatives get all 2,000 votes, it still only counts as one riding and one seat. And in that way, sometimes, although this didn't happen this time, sometimes, a party can win the election but lose the popular vote. And this is where Elizabeth May from the Green Party has been saying we should have electoral reform where it's more representative of the voters, not just of ridings.
Thank you once again for sharing that very detailed answer. I think if Ahmed Ramadan wanted to have a side career just to talk about politics, he would completely excel in it. And then my last question to you is, we've done a lot of coverage and we've digested a lot of what's going on. If you had to point out one major difference between the Liberal Party and the Conservative Party, what do you think that difference would be?
Some of our guests yesterday were talking about a lost opportunity for the Conservatives. And I think the difference is the Liberals at least gave a sense to some of the communities that they are willing to listen to some of the issues. Whether you agree or not, they at least stayed neutral in some respect and then gave the impression that they were listening. The Conservatives took very hard stances on a lot of issues. Now, the Liberals really focused their campaign on Trump and the threat from the South, and people rallied behind that and created some Canadian, nationalism and pride, and people got together with that. The Conservatives really discussed a variety of issues, but nothing really, I don't think there was one issue that really stood out. So if you talk about, balancing the budget and, cost of living or immigration, they talked about a lot of these things and things people do care about, but not one major issue that they hung their hat on.
Absolutely. And sometimes when you have too many things going on, it's really hard for the consumers and our voters, ourselves included, to get a little bit more clarity on what to expect. And that is one of the sentiments that we were told when we were canvassing and speaking with local families, local Canadians, when getting their opinion on how they feel about the upcoming elections. Now, I shared with everyone here today what were the top sentiments that I saw during my canvassing. When you were doing your interviews and your canvassing, what were the top 3 voter sentiments or issues that were highlighted to you?
So I would say the 3 that I heard the most was Trump, tariffs, 51st state, cost of living and housing. This was a big one. People mention this all the time, especially younger voters trying to buy homes. And then, families that are struggling just to buy groceries. They're going to the grocery store and their dollar isn't taking them as far as it needs to or used to. And then the third thing is Gaza. And many people were speaking about Palestine. And obviously, like we just spoke about a few minutes ago, this is considered the issue of our time. there's a plausible genocide unfolding there. It's already been labeled an apartheid, and they don't want to see more people suffering and going through that. And they've made it clear that they really care about this issue.
Absolutely. And as we're doing this coverage right now, you're seeing on your screen some of the most important and notary stats regarding our Muslim voters. And not just Muslim voters itself, we had so many Muslim candidates that were so passionate about bringing a change to our way of living that we had the pleasure of interviewing.
So we saw Muslim candidates, not just from one party. We actually saw Muslim candidates across all parties, and we interviewed many of them. One thing I'd like to point out to our viewers, if you've been, I hope a lot of you have been following along, you might have seen more candidates that we've interviewed from the Liberal or the NDP and some of the Green, obviously, but not as many conservatives. And this is not because of any sort of direction that we had. We reached out to everybody. We were trying to give you a very holistic picture of the political landscape, and it's just unfortunate that a lot of the conservatives declined that offer where the other parties did accept it.
Absolutely. I was part of the team that was relentlessly but very kindly reaching out to the candidates to give them an opportunity to share their message with you, our viewers and our audience. And unfortunately, we were unable to get a lot of yeses, if any at all for that matter, from the conservative folks. And we got a lot more from the other parties. And that's why we naturally had a lot more coverage from the people that were with other parties.
So maybe what we should talk about now is just go through a little bit the numbers and talk about how many people voted, the turnout that took place, and why it was so high this time around.
Absolutely. And before we dive into the stats, I need to say we had definitely a record in terms of how many people came out there and vote. And in a way, it's good because there are people so passionate about bringing a change. In a way, it's also distasteful that there's things people feel need to be changed with our current way of living. However, that is how the life goes, right?
For sure, for sure. This time around, I think people will really, and we heard from some of our guests yesterday, they really voted out of fear. There was a lot of that fear vote. And I heard from people, the fear is done. Polyev didn't win. We could now focus our energies on other issues. So I think it's just kind of a wake-up call for a lot of people to make sure you're involved in the political process. It's not just about the elections. And we heard this time and time again from different organizers, community leaders, people that are passionate about what's taking place and unfolding, that it's not just about the election day. Obviously, you have to exercise that right. But moving forward, stay engaged, speak to your MPs. It doesn't matter who they are, whether they're conservative, liberal, NDP, speak to them, stay in contact with them, and let them know the issues that you're concerned about. Because the more engaged you are with them, the more you let them know the issues that matter to you, the more then they reflect that within the government.
No doubt about it. And as a member of the youth myself, I did notice that this year, the votes from the younger audience did increase. But the recent stats that we found this morning, we were able to locate that folks from the age of 40 and higher, there was a higher percentage that voted for the Liberal Party. And folks that were the age of 40 and younger, there was a higher percentage that voted for the Conservative Party. And it's also entirely possible that a lot of the youth have not really found the passion or even the confidence that their vote makes a difference. And that's a message that we just want to erase. And we definitely want to carry forward that every vote does count. And we want to try our best to push that towards the youth as well. So if you have kids at home, take the time to have this conversation with them, walk them through what's happening in the world right now, and give them the confidence that their opinion, their vote matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. The other issue that we saw in the numbers is that the Conservatives really lost a lot of the women's vote. Polyev, although he was trending much higher early on, he made a few comments about women, and it really made women think that the Conservative Party is out of touch. And again, this is not me saying it, I'm just talking about some of the analysis that we have been looking into. And this is the translation that they've given to the numbers, where the Conservatives felt a little bit out of touch with women and the issues that they are dealing with. So this is another aspect of it. So when you look at some of the different groups that The Liberals kind of incorporated into their party, drawing from the NDP, drawing from the Bloc Québécois, drawing from the Greens, and then a lot of people that felt disenfranchised from the Conservatives. You could see why they were able to pull the numbers that they pulled.
Absolutely. And there was a lot of misinformation on the web this time around, and a lot of it we were able to get corrected. My apologies, when we spoke to candidates. And there is a very common misbelief right now that crime is just ever so increasing. It's an uphill battle. And when we spoke to some of our candidates, many of which are actually police officers, they gave us the data for us to understand that we actually are doing better. It's just that we're living in a time where social media is kind of giving exposure to everything, especially events of that nature, as unfortunate as they are, right? And there's been a very big concern with Muslim women in regards to growing Islamophobia, and very few people were able to actually attend to that concern.
Absolutely. So I'm just trying to I wanted to discuss a little bit and just shift gears a little bit and talk about Jagmeet Singh. What are your thoughts? After seeing last night, he came out. He didn't win his seat, and he stepped down as the NDP leader. He's been around since 2017. I just wanted to get your impression of what you felt. When he got up there, he cried. As he made his resignation speech. Just tell me your thoughts. How you felt when you saw it.
Absolutely. When I saw that speech, his final talk, and we all saw it, of course, together, I was watching it not as a news reporter or a host. I was watching it as a fellow voter, and I was feeling the sentiments that he was saying. I felt emotional. It was very nice to see his family standing with him. And I've been following Jagmeet Singh on social media for as long as I can remember. He's always been a very, very vocal and passionate individual, right? So I'm not really sure what the future might look like for NDP, but I'm sure this decision that he probably felt like he had to make for the betterment going forward, it couldn't happen easy for him because he has been the face of the NDP for so long. What did you think about it?
So I actually interviewed him, and I met some of the people around him. And one thing that they said was that Jagmeet really does enjoy this process. He loves talking to people. He loves traveling and going around. Even at the end of the night where, some of us, like last night, we were completely burnt out. We were ready to go home and go to sleep, which we didn't, but we wanted to. He's willing to still speak to people, and he's still excited about it. So there's that sincerity there a little bit. And the reality is, they did reach some heights during his time. Last time around, I believe it was 23 seats or 24 seats that they held. Now it's down to 7. Some of it in his control, some of it not. But what people are saying is that he's taken the party as far as he could have. And now it's time for somebody else to step in. And actually, what we'd like to do right now is just show you some highlights or some clip of Jagmeet's resignation and speech last night.
On his victory, he has an important job to do to represent all Canadians and to protect our country and its sovereignty from the threats of Donald Trump. Tonight and every night, all of us here, we're on Team Canada. We want Canada to thrive, and we're going to continue to fight for Canada. I want to congratulate all the other leaders on a hard-fought campaign. It's been the honor of my life to represent the people of Burnaby Central. Tonight they chose, thank you. Tonight they chose a new member of parliament, and I wish them well as they continue to work hard for this community. Obviously, I know this night is a disappointing night for New Democrats. We had really good candidates that lost tonight. I know how hard you worked. I spent time with you. You're amazing. I'm so sorry you're not going to be able to represent your communities. I know you're going to continue to fight for them. I know on how many doors you knocked, how many family dinners you missed, how many nights your kids went to bed without you there to tuck them in. I know it was a tough sacrifice, and I just want to thank, and we can give a round of applause to every single candidate that ran for us. Thank you.
It makes me very happy when individuals take out the time to thank their team, because as we did our coverage, of course, the candidates were working tirelessly, but without their team who are working equally as tirelessly, if not more, the success would not be as possible. So it makes me very happy, because even us at Muslim Network TV in our Toronto studios, our team worked many, many long hours. Now, we had a record of 15 Muslim MPs that ran, and we would not only take the time to address the ones that won.
So the first one is Abdul Haq Sari. He's a liberal from the Bourassa in Quebec. He's a city councillor and advocate for public safety and orphan welfare. Sari won with 58.5% of the vote.
Next up, we have Faisal Al-Khoury, liberal from Quebec, a Canadian-Lebanese engineer and veteran MP. Al-Khoury was re-elected with 49.6%.
And then we have Samir Zubairi. He's a liberal from Pierre Fonds Dollard in Quebec, human rights advocate and MP since 2019. Zubairi won re-election with nearly 60% of the vote.
Next up, we had Shafkat Ali, liberal.
I interviewed.
You did, and that was an amazing interview, by the way. We have to give credit to that. Shafkat did an amazing job on camera too. He has a lot of charisma for sure. So he's in the liberal riding from Brampton. In Brampton, my apologies. Thank you, Shankuzi Park. A businessman and community volunteer, Ali focused on healthcare and affordability. He won with 48.7%.
Aslam Rana, liberal from Hamilton Center, Ontario, a Pakistani-Canadian civil engineer committed to sustainable infrastructure and small business support.
Oh, guess who interviewed this gentleman?
You.
That was me, 100%. Faris Al-Sood. He not only had all the energy in the world, but he was so motivated to bringing a change. A youngster, but so passionate. He's in the Mississauga Center riding. And to be honest, when I had a chance to interview him, it was so good. We learned that he's a newcomer to the parliament, actually a very last-minute decision. Al-Saud defeated a conservative opponent with 53.7%.
I interviewed his competition, Muhammad Ishaq from the Mississauga City Center. I also interviewed Ikra Khalid, who's a liberal from Mississauga Erin Mills, a human rights leader. Khalid championed motions against Islamophobia and the Rohingya genocide.
I would like to remind everyone more specifically, Brother Ahmed, this is not a competition on who had more interviews, but next up we have Seema.
If it was.
You're about to win? First he has all the nude, and now he wants all the glory of the interviews as well.
You have the suits, bro, so you gotta be something.
Let's not talk about the suits. So next up we have Seema Ahsan, Oakville West, the first Turkish-Canadian MP in Parliament. Ahsan is a trailblazer for her community.
Yasser Naqvi, a liberal from Ottawa Centre, former Ontario Attorney General and federal MP focused on justice reform and urban revitalization.
Next up, we have Salma Zahid, Scarborough Centre, Don Valley East. She's a cancer survivor and outspoken MP on human rights issues, including support for South Africa's case on Gaza.
We have Kareem Bardizi, a liberal from Taikako and Parkdale High Park.
Next up, we have Ali Ahasi.
Now, I was able to interview him at the Carney rally just inside the airport hangar, and that was a nice interview to get in a very unique situation.
Yes, and Willowdale is honestly my favorite area. When I reached out to Ali, I wasn't able to get a hold of him, so clearly you're way more charming because he spoke to you.
So, you mentioning Willowdale, I'm hoping that once we start going through the city after the elections and looking at different parts of the GTA, we'll be able to visit Willowdale and see some of the highlights there.
Amazing food options. You're going to love it. He is an Iranian-Canadian MP focused on global justice, genocide prevention, and Iranian regime accountability.
We have Ahmed Hussein, liberal from York Southwestern Etobicoke. He's a Somali-Canadian MP and former immigration minister with a legacy of humanitarian advocacy.
Next up, we have Talib Noor Muhammad, Vancouver, Granville, British Columbia, Harvard-educated MP with experience in public policy, digital transformation, and internal affairs.
And the interesting thing is we have 15 MPs that won from the Muslim community, but there was still a lot that were close contenders. And one of them is Rahima Mian, a liberal from Regina in Saskatchewan. She's the runner-up with 10,000 votes and nearly 27%. She's a passionate community advocate and staffer for the Minister of Indigenous Services. Mian focused her campaign on on Indigenous rights, equity, and inclusion.
Next up, we have Rohan Saravar, Saskatoon South, Saskatchewan, runner-up with 19,584 votes, 40.2%. An Afghan-Canadian business leader and president of Saskatoon Open Doors Society, Saravar has championed immigrant integration and youth empowerment.
You know, the interesting thing I'm seeing here as I'm reading the names, it's, you know, Muslims are not a monolith, and you see a lot of different countries represented. And if you speak to a lot of Muslims from different countries, you do notice that obviously Islam unites them, but they also have their own individuality, their own culture, their own experiences that they bring, which I think makes Canada great. So the next runner-up we have is Aziz Mian, a Liberal from Saskatchewan. He was a runner-up with 9.6% of the vote.
Next up, we have Nabila Ben Youssef, Bloc Québécois, and as a runner-up, she had 8,378 votes, 17%. She is a comedian, actress, and outspoken activist for secularism and women's rights. Ben Youssef used her platform to challenge extremism and support abuse survivors.
We have also Ghada Jarbi. She's a Liberal from Drummond, Quebec. She was a runner-up with 28.4% of the votes. She's a biomedical scientist and a former president of the Liberal Women's Commission in Quebec. Jarbi prioritized women's leadership and health equity.
Honestly, makes me so happy seeing all their accolades. There is so much talent out there, and I love how these guys are the people that will be changing the way we live.
It's very impressive.
Absolutely, mashallah. Next up, we have Nima Mashouf, NDP from Laurier-Sainte-Marie, Quebec, runner-up with 9,500 votes and 18.9%. A Canadian-Iranian epidemiologist and feminist, Mashouf is known for her global public health work and human rights advocacy. My apologies on the mouthful.
And Fatima Badran, a Liberal from Quebec, she was the runner-up with 15,000 votes and 26.9%. A young political science graduate and activist, Badran is committed to sustainability, diplomacy, and inclusive policy making.
Next up, we have Nadeem Akbar, Conservative Party, Burlington North.
One of the few conservatives that we interviewed.
That's special in itself. And he was a runner-up with 30,710 votes, 44.4%.
We also have Malalai Halimi, a Liberal from Dufferin-Caledon, runner-up with 23,800 votes and 33.8%. He's an Afghan-Canadian media entrepreneur and aerospace professional. Halimi advocates for diversity, opportunity, and women's empowerment.
Next up, we have Mubarak Ahmed, Liberal, King Vaughan, Ontario, runner-up with 23,590 votes at 35.6%. An engineer and interfaith activist, Ahmed has worked across continents and led charitable and civic efforts in the Greater Toronto Area.
We have Najam Naqvi, a Liberal from London, Fanshawe, Ontario. He was a runner-up with 17,500 votes and 30.4%. He's a Pakistani-Canadian lawyer and longtime community volunteer. Naqvi focused on affordability and access to justice.
Because you interviewed this gentleman, I'll let you take this one.
We have Mohammed Ishaq, a conservative from the Mississauga Center. He's, again, the person that was running against your interview. He was the runner-up with 22,700 votes and nearly 42%.
Next up, we have Majid Johari, Liberal, Richmond Hill South, Ontario. He was a runner-up with 25,487 votes, 44.2%.
And we have Ashik Hussain. He's a conservative from Toronto Danforth, runner-up with 10,900 votes and 19.1%.
Next up, we have Shanaz Munir, Liberal, Calgary, Crowfoot, Alberta, runner-up with 23,703 votes at 37.3%. A seasoned educator and community volunteer, Munir has advocated for seniors, multiculturalism, and civic inclusion in Calgary.
And we got Gul Khan, a Liberal from Calgary, Alberta. He was the runner-up with over 18,000 votes and over 28% of the vote. A local business leader and activist, Khan is known for his deep connections within Calgary's diverse communities.
Next up, we have Hafiz Malik, Liberal, Calgary Skyview, Alberta, at 17,225 votes with 37.5%. A small business owner and community leader, Malik campaigned on jobs, affordability, and small business support, and that makes me very happy for small businesses.
Sayed Ahmed, Conservative from Edmonton, Alberta, runner-up with 20,299 votes and just over 38% of the vote, a Somali-Canadian economist and former government advisor. Ahmed has focused on healthcare reform and economic inclusion.
We have Ayaz Bengesh, Liberal, Red Deer, Alberta, 13,157 votes at 21.8%. A business graduate at Red Cross, volunteer, Bengesh prioritized emergency preparedness and cultural cohesion.
We have Zishan Khan, a Liberal from British Columbia, runner-up with 23,000 votes and 35.3%. An oral surgeon and co-founder of a community nonprofit, Khan advocates for healthcare access and inclusivity in city planning.
I love how long this list is. It makes me very happy. We have Ghazanfar Ali Tarad, Liberal, Brandon Surrey, Manitoba, with 10,075 votes at 23.2%, a small-town business owner and a political newcomer. Tarad campaigned on local development and multicultural outreach.
And that is the list. And I know we took some time to go through this, but I think it's important to, acknowledge and highlight some of these individuals, whether they won or came runner-up. It's important to see who these people are, their accolades, like you mentioned, which a lot of them were very impressive, and also the diversity.
Honestly, in addition to the accolades, what really surprised me at a personal and professional level is how many young members we had running. We interviewed some candidates from the age of 19 to maybe even 30 years old, and they had the world's energy and passion to make a change. And that gives me the vote of confidence that our youth is in the right direction 100%.
Yeah, I interviewed a father and son duo, Aftab and Samir Qureshi, and they were both running. One of them obviously was one of the younger candidates that we interviewed, but again, they were both for the NDP, and it just goes to show not just the youth and the diversity in background, but also the diversity across Canada. We saw from Edmonton, Calgary, British Columbia, all over the country, and that's really just goes to highlight how far we've come.
No doubt about it. And I'm personally from the Durham region, and I had the pleasure of speaking to candidates in the Durham region from Pickering all the way to Bowmanville and Uxbridge as well. And it was just good to know how, in a way, everyone is united to bring a change to our way of living. And that makes me very happy. Now, personal question. We just went through the list of winners and runner-up. What are the chances I personally will be announcing your name in the next election?
There's a very slim to no chance at all. I don't think that I really enjoy what I'm doing. I'm enjoying, co-hosting with you today. And, I really like what I do. So I doubt that will ever happen. But maybe you have the look, you have the suits, and you have the style. Maybe it should be you that's running.
I love how every time I'm here, someone is always poking at my suit. So honestly, let's just open the table to you now. I have a lot of joy wearing bright color suits, as you already know. This is one of the fewer ones of them. But a lot of people don't like the bright suits, and I totally get it. So I'm obviously very aware of when to wear them and when to dress a little bit more classy and modestly. But I've gone through the comments of our YouTube videos, and I'm so grateful for all the viewers that we have on YouTube. People love your voice. They say it's deep, it's powerful. That's a leader's voice.
Thank you. I do appreciate that. We have to obviously project when we're doing our reports, but thank you for that. And honestly, I don't know who has a problem with your suits. Whoever has a problem with your suits has a problem with me.
Okay, it's personal now. So if anyone wants to have a friendly debate about my suits with Brother Ahmed Ramadan, the comments are all yours. I appreciate that so much.
Moise, it was a pleasure sitting here with you. It was a pleasure speaking with all of you and breaking down post-election coverage. And we really want to thank all of our guests from yesterday who did an incredible job, especially under the circumstance where we're trying to break things live on air. So we really want to thank them and our viewers and all the people that work behind the scenes to help put this together. Thank you so much.
I would like to echo that a little bit further as well. If I gave out individual shout outs, we would be here all evening, but I would rather you go enjoy the rest of your evening. So a big shout out to everyone in our team who has worked so passionately in carrying this vision forward. When we look at where we were 4 weeks ago to now, we've accomplished so much, but we're not done yet. We have so much more to bring to your attention. We're working on a brand new show, brand new segments, and we personally feel that we have the right approach towards it to make it valuable and entertaining for you. So definitely stay tuned. As always, like, share, and subscribe. I am Moise Rahman.
I'm Ahmed Ramadan. Thank you for joining us. Assalamu alaikum.